I'm not sure if you've ever followed John Lovell. He's got the Warrior Poet Society. So basically, he's got a channel, Warrior Poet Society. He's got a book called The Warrior Poet. And he talks about you need to have, especially when we're talking about our boys in particular, and I'm curious of your thoughts on this, right? You need to have a boy who is empathetic, who appreciates how to treat a woman, who has the capability to be a poet. While at the same time, when that woman or that girl in school is being threatened by somebody else, has the ability to rise up, to bring potentially physical violence, and to be a warrior to protect that which he is both a poet of. Can you give me some appreciation, especially with your two boys, Jeff, of how you've tried to raise your boys to be both warriors and poets?
Yeah, I love that. And I think the warrior mentality, especially from how I lead the warrior dad community and brotherhood, we need to be attack oriented, but we also need to lean in from a love perspective. It's got to have both. And raising two boys, one of the things my wife and I have always said is you've got to stick up for others. Others might not be able to stick up. Make sure you do that and be courteous, be kind. Please, thank you, hold the door for people at the Y, right? When we're going in and be that type of person. But also, hey, if somebody crosses the line, and I forget, I think it was about 2 months ago, I might have snapped at my wife in a moment of not too being proud of. And my oldest said, don't talk to my mom like that. And he stood
Wow.
up at the table, and my wife got teary eyed. And later, I apologized to her and we connected. And she said, hey, we've done good that he challenged you in that moment. So
That is amazing.
encouraging those type of things. And I did talk to him. I said, hey, I was proud of you for doing that. And that's what you need to do in those times. So I think, how do we raise, especially sons, in that manner? We need to do it ourselves. So much is taught, not necessarily taught. And if we're teaching one thing to our boys, but then living in incongruency and not doing that same thing, it's not going to be really taken in and truly learned by our son specifically. So yeah, warrior mentality. Yes, you got to be on the attack, be active, action oriented, but you got to also lean into love. You got to, one of the other, Ryan, most proud things my wife and I have done in raising our two boys is no matter who leaves the house, and this might get me emotional, we all find each other, we give each other a hug and say we love each other. And I still remember last spring, I took my oldest to a basketball practice, and he had 3 of his buddies in the back of my truck, and they left. And I said, Jackson, I love you. I said, I love you too, Dad. I know I wouldn't have done that to my dad. So changing that, leaning into love, you got to have the action. You got to be the alpha, but you also have to be empathetic. You also have to stand up for others and be a kind, virtue, value-based human being. And that's really what I'm after, and my wife is after in raising our two boys.
My father was the same way. And it must have just been the generation, right? There was no affection, there was no hugs. And I made even though my father is my biggest mentor, I look up to him the most. I made a profound shift when I first had Bromley, our oldest kiddo, to say exactly that. I will say I love him. I will hug him no matter what. Every morning before they go to school, every morning when they come down, I kiss each one of them on the cheek. How'd you sleep? And then every night, I love you. And that makes a profound difference. And Paul, the the thing that your child did, Jeff, in particular for you in that story that you just shared is profound. And I guarantee he has heard you say to him in years past, do not talk to my wife like that. And he flipped it. I mean, to me, that's got to be the most proud dad moment you could have, even though it was a challenging situation for you.
Yeah, 100%. And I love the story that you shared as far as leaning in, because I give my boys kisses on the head all the time, even as teenagers. And here's the thing. When we authentically lead ourselves, when we step into that best version of ourselves, when we go towards that North Star, which is our potential, and that's a North Star, it's not a destination, we'll never get there. You can also pay it forward to that next generation up. I hug and kiss my dad more than I ever have in my life. And we're more affectionate than we ever have. And he's learning things through my growth. He just brought back The Energy Bus by John Gordon because I was like, you got to read this book. It's fantastic. So not only can we lead the generation down, we can also lead up when we step into the best version of ourselves. So it's pretty cool when that's happened.